Hello everybody and welcome to this review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Back to the Future the game, but it's going to be more of an overview of the Back to the Future the game. It's been a long time since I've done a video about Back to the Future the game, mainly because the last episode came out in, pretty sure it was June last year, and we haven't had any new content to talk about. But today, one of my fans requested this video, and normally I don't take requests, but it was a really fantastic idea, and I thought, yes, I can give my fans some more Back to the Future content. So now I'm going to be talking about each individual episode, talking about what I thought about them, and how I thought Back to the Future the game was as a whole, and whether it was a good representation of the Back to the Future world. Okay, first off, I'm going to start off by talking about the first episode. Here's a link to a review I did of the first episode of Back to the Future the game, and I talk about most of the topics in the first episode and how the game works, but I'm going to talk about it again here anyway, because it's been a long time since I did that video. Back to the Future the game was developed by Telltale Games, and it was released in an episodic format. It was split up into parts, episode 1 all the way through to episode 5. Now, the main concept of the game is it's a point and click adventure game, like the Sam and Max series, those type of series that Telltale makes already. Anyway, this is based on the Back to the Future movie series, and it starts off where Back to the Future 3 ends. Doc's disappeared, and it's a few months after the ending of Back to the Future 3 actually. Doc's disappeared and the government's selling off his house and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden the DeLorean appears and Doc appears to be in trouble, and Marty has to help him find him and bring him back to the future. And that's where the game sort of starts off, and throughout the first episode you go back to the time frame where Doc is, and you have to save him and bring him back. I'm going to try not give away too many spoilers about the story because a lot of people haven't played the game yet. Anyway, at the end of the first episode we get a cliffhanger, which is not really that surprising considering the game's split up into parts anyway. Anyway, the cliffhanger has one of the main characters in trouble, and you realise that by trying to correct the timeline they've actually stuffed it up. So then you have to try and correct the timeline, and this is sort of how each episode goes. The second episode, the one I'm talking about now, was called Get Tannin, and that episode was pretty good. It was about the same level as the first one. Both of them I thought were fairly solid, but a little bit short. Then we get on to the third one. Now, this is where the game starts to get a bit crazy. Now, what I don't like about this episode, there's a number of things I don't like it. First of all, the ending of episode 2, the ending is much too far-fetched for the Back to the Future movies. Yes, it's kind of cool, the theory of what they do, but it sort of felt like the Back to the Future the cartoon more than it did about the movies. It was a bit too far-fetched for what I thought, and the game couldn't really decide whether it wanted to be the movie or the cartoon. And episode 3 was the worst episode out of all of them in my opinion, because it was very slow moving and very boring. Hardly any progress was made in the entire episode until right near the end. In about the last 10 minutes of the episode is when progress actually gets made in the story, which is terrible. This is my worst episode. It's very boring to play. Then episode 4 sort of picks things up again. We're into bit of a different timeline. We've gone back to where we were before, and it starts to pick up again, but still the story is starting to get a bit confusing and a bit too far-fetched, and it's not all mixing together well. Then episode 5 came out. Now, I was really hoping episode 5 would be good, mainly because they'd allowed more development time to polish off the episode because it was the very last one, and they brought back Michael J. Fox to play a couple of characters. My initial impressions of this episode were very bad. You can check out this video here where I talk about the episode. The main reason that I didn't like episode 5 initially was because it was very buggy. There was at least 2 occasions where I had to start the game again because I was stuck because of a bug, or I was just stuck in an environment where I couldn't get out of it, so I had to reset the game. I couldn't load into my save file because I'd be stuck in that area again, so I had to start a whole new game, and it was very frustrating. But apparently there's a new version out right now that you can download, and it's fixed this bug, which is very good. Apart from that, I really liked episode 5. The story was quite well. I felt like a lot of progress was made in the 5th episode compared to some of the early episodes, and all round it was a fantastic episode. I loved Michael J. Fox being in it and playing some characters. I felt like you travelled a lot more in time than you did in the other episodes, and that was what I really liked. The only thing I didn't really like was the ending to the whole series, and it was a bit of a stupid ending where they joked around and lots of Martys came in and like just as time parodies, but it really was stupid. It felt a lot like the cartoon than it did like the movies, because in the movies they'd never do something like that. With the exception of that, episode 5 was a fantastic episode and probably my favourite with the exception of 1. 1 was really good as well. Now overall, Back to the Future of the game I felt was a fantastic point and click adventure game. Had great gameplay. The only thing was the puzzles in it was a little bit too easy for my taste, but I thought that they did an extremely good job of representing the movies. The only thing is, when they start to get into the later episodes, it starts having an identity crisis where it can't decide whether it wants to be the cartoon or the movies, and that was the biggest problem I really had with these games, was that it got a bit too sci-fi and far-fetched for my taste for the movies, and I really like the movies. Now, with that aside, I really still loved the Back to the Future the game. Even though it got a bit too far-fetched, I loved Marty and Doc reuniting with Christopher Lloyd voicing Doc. It was just a great game. Great to see Back to the Future the game again. And if you want to pick this game up, it's at your local retailer, I'm pretty sure, on the PS3 and the Wii, and you can also pick up PC version. I'm not sure if there's a retail version of that, but you can buy it from Telltale Games website. And it's a fantastic game. It's very cheap for the amount of content that you get, and if you're a fan of point and click adventure games or Back to the Future the game, I would highly recommend purchasing this game. If you want to know which version you should get, if you're able to get all three, I would probably recommend the PC version, mainly because point and click adventure games work best with a mouse rather than a controller like it does on the PS3, and the Wii version is a bit dubbed down, like lower graphics and stuff. That's about all I've got to say for Back to the Future the game. It's really fun revisiting this game, considering a lot of my content was revolved around it, and I still think this is a fantastic game that you should pick up. Please let me know in the comment section down below what you think of Back to the Future the game, and whether it was a good representation of the Back to the Future series. Once again, I'm Dipper, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in a future video. Thank you very much for watching.